My very loving salutations at the lotus feet of my loving Sai Ma. Sai Ram to all of you. Today's experience goes back in time. It was Swami's 70th or 75th. I'm sorry, I don't remember which exactly birthday it was. But I happened to be a part of the Seva Dal from Delhi for his birthday celebrations. I felt so blessed that I was going on an occasion for the first time and to be part of the entire proceedings over there. As you all know that for Baba's birthday celebrations, Seva Dals come from all over the country. All the states send their Seva Dals. So it is a beautiful unification of everyone together, and nobody's given separately any duty. We are all put together for the various responsibilities that we have. Now, I happen to be put into a group which was supposed to look after the venue where the prasadam had to be distributed. So we had to provide security, we had to serve the food, and we had to show the devotees what to do exactly as such, where to go and where to sit and so on. So the venue, if you those who've been to Prashanti Nilayam, they must have seen this beautiful garden which is in front of the northern canteen. The northern canteen also was not functional at that time. So that this beautiful garden at that time was a barren piece of land. And on the sides, where the gentleman who sells coconut, starting from that point onto the northern canteen wall, there were stone slabs, positioned on boulders, and they were supposed to be used as tables for serving the food as such. Now, my duty was to be a part of the chain, which was encircling the entire Medan, so that the inlet for the devotees was only from one point, and they had to go out from a different point. Nobody else could enter the venue from any other parts. So because as we were all holding our hands. Now, this prasadam, the program was that prasadam would be distributed for 10 days. And being prasadam, no money was being charged, of course, and people were expecting large numbers to be attending this program. So the first day when we started distributing the prasadam, people came in, they were served very lovingly by the people who were distributing food. And they, like holding their plates in their hands, they found a place, even though it was afternoon time, because we started with lunch and dinner. That's what we were giving at that time there. So they sat in the sun on the Medan as such, and standing in the periphery, I could see their faces so full of contentment. While they were eating their prasadams, they would be looking towards Swami's residence and trying to connect to him through that prasadam, and thanking him for the morsels that he had given them to eat. It was such a beautiful sight, absolutely. And once they finished, they would keep bowing, regularly as such. Many times they were doing the same thing to just show and express their gratitude to him. And then they would be shown the way out. So this happened the first day for lunch as well as for dinner. Now, the next day, what happened was that the crowds really grew in number, that they just swelled up. The crowd was so much that there was very, very long lines. And, and the people on the top, those who were managing the show, you see, we had 3-tier management over there. The Prashanti Nilayam, Sevadal, ladies in charges were right on the top, and they would give the instructions to our in charges, like from various states. So they told us the next day in the morning, that's for the afternoon lunch, that we can't allow these people to sit on the ground because there's so many people and we won't be able to accommodate them. So the moment they get their food, please ask them to go out of the Maidan. Now, we were given these instructions, but these devotees who were coming in were not aware of that. So when they came in and they were shown to the counters where to get their food, so the moment they would take their patal, and their plate, and just about to sit down, when the Sevadal would catch hold of their hands and say, no, 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 you can't sit here, you please go out. And some of them even sat down and they were made to get up in the middle of their eating the food. Now, so standing on the periphery, holding hands to make a chain, I looked on to the scene and I was hurt very, very badly. I felt the pain in my heart. I could feel the pain of these people who were being asked to go out. Of course, they were doing it politely, but they were not allowed to sit over there. And I felt very pained. That I always look at Swami as my mother. And I was so happy to be at my mother's birthday celebrations. And here Swami's guests had come and they were not even being allowed to sit over there. Now, we had gone to, like Swami in 92. I was not a very old devotee, you can say. I didn't know many people over there. So I started feeling very helpless, frustrated. What can I do? What can I do? How can I help this situation? How can I change this situation and make it happen that these people are allowed to sit and eat in peace, and not pushed out? Anyhow, the lunch went like this. The dinner also went like this. And while the dinner was on, I was literally in tears, And while I was in that state, a lady came and stood in front of me, Now, she wasn't a very tall lady. And she was wearing a sari, she had a bindi. And she came and stood in front of me and she said, you come on the TV, isn't it? Now, I just looked at her like that. And in my mind, I started thinking, how in the world, with thousands of people, with hardly any light where we were standing, there was no light over there. Hardly, some lampposts were all over the place, but this particular place where I was standing was not very lighted up. How in the world can this lady recognize me that I come on the TV? Because, like when you go on the TV, you have special makeup and a lot of light is focused on your face and you have your head, done with a lot of spray in it. And you look so different to what I was looking at that time after a whole day's seva. And she comes and says that you come on TV. So I looked at her and I said, you watch the UGC programs? Because I used to anchor the UGC programs. But I used to come only 3 or 4 times in a month. I did it for years, but hardly 3-4 days in a month was not such a great number of viewership that would have watched me on those programs. So I looked at her and I said, do you watch UGC programs? She says, yes, I watch UGC programs. So I said, where do you live? She said, I live in Hyderabad. So I looked at her again. I said, how in the world did you recognize me? So she very sweetly, using her index finger, she touched my mole here and she said, because of this, and she went away from there. Now I couldn't run behind her because I was holding, like I was a part of the chain, so I couldn't leave my hands. So I kept on thinking that this is amazing. How can a person in this kind of an atmosphere recognize me? It's not possible. It's not possible. And the more I thought, the more convinced I was that it was Swami only. It can't be anybody else but him. Then I started thinking that Swami never does anything without a reason. Then why did he come to me like this? What was it that he's trying to tell me? Then I analyzed it that I was so frustrated. I was so frustrated that all the devotees were being pushed out and not allowed to eat their food, while being seated there. So I thought to myself that maybe Swami wants me to do something, but what can I do? I'm such a small person out here, a small fry in this organization. What can I do? So with this thought, when we finished our duty there, I went back home and I took out, first thing I did was after reaching there is to take out a notebook and I started drawing on it. Now, just to give you a little background, but why I started drawing and all that, that like I was working in a school in Delhi, and the school strength was say 3,000 plus, and even the staff members were about 1,500 or so. And for many years, I had been the coordinator for the sports day as well as for the annual functions. So I had an idea about how to coordinate things. So I took out that piece of paper, that notebook, and I started drawing on it. And I started like thinking loudly as to how we can manage the crowd still in that venue and not push them out of that place. So I kept on drawing. And also the next day morning, since I told you like we had duty only for lunch and dinner, mornings used to be free. I now went around looking for our senior most Sevadal lady. I didn't know where she stayed, but after finding out from somewhere, I went to her house. She stayed in one of the floors in front of Purn Chandra Hall. And there I knocked at her door. She very politely got me inside and she asked me, what's the problem? So I said, ma'am, yesterday, since like yesterday, it was yesterday afternoon and night, the orders were that we can't make the devotees sit there and have their food. And this is a very sad state of the situation. I just don't, I'm really pained at it, ma'am. And I don't know how to help them, how to change the rule or what to do. So I have a little plan. Would you please hear me out? She said, okay. Tell me what is your plan. So I explained the whole thing to him that to her that what I'm going to do in that plan. So she said, okay, I'll put it up to the seniors from Prashanti Nilayam, but I can't give you any promises because they have their own rules, which they have discussed in depth, you know. And once they make their rules, then it's very difficult to change them. However, I'll talk to them. So I thanked her for that. And I said, ma'am, that'd be very kind of you if you can put in a word. So in the afternoon, I went for my duty and the same thing was being repeated, you know. And then suddenly I saw this lady who was our in charge from Delhi looking for me. And when she spotted me, she came to me and she said, do you have that paper with you? I said, yes, ma'am, I have that paper with me. You come with me quickly. She took me to the seniors of Prashanti Nilayam. And she asked me to explain how I plan to accommodate the entire public in that same venue, you know, without a problem and make them sit there. So I explained the whole thing to them. So immediately within 2 minutes, she said, okay, do you take the responsibility of executing this plan? I said, yes, ma'am. I'll definitely take the responsibility and I'll do the best, that I can do. So she said, okay. So I told her that once this lunch is over, ma'am, can you please give the order that the entire Sevadal of our group should collect together, and then we could instruct them accordingly. So that was done. And I showed them the plan that I had, and I gave them the big periphery that we were standing in, then became into 4 enclosures, and that was surrounded by the chains. And there were people who were guiding, they were supposed to be people who were going to guide the devotees. So for the nighttime prasadam, we executed the program. So in this, what happened was like some of the people were welcoming the devotees inside, then showing them the way to the counter. And then we started with enclosure number 1. So they would get into the enclosure 1 till it was chock-a-block. You know, it was totally full. Then the rest of them would be guided to the 2nd enclosure, then 3rd enclosure, then 4th enclosure. Now, by the time the 3rd and 4th were filling up, the 1st and 2nd had got free. And then, so it went around like this in circle very smoothly. So the night prasadam went off very well, and so did the rest of the days, you know. Now, at the end of the prasadams, that means the end of the 10 days that we were distributing the prasadams, I went around looking for the senior lady from Delhi, and when I found her, I just thanked her and I said, "Ma'am, thank you so very much for putting in a word and getting this done." Because it was such a nice feeling to see everybody enjoying their food sitting over here. So she said, "You'll be surprised. When I went and told them, it was turned down." And while I was still standing there, suddenly orders came right from the top. And Swami had sent a message that what is happening in Prashanti Nilayam? Why are all the people sitting outside on the roadsides and on the curbs and everywhere else? They were everywhere else, and the plates were lying everywhere. And it was a mess, absolutely. So that's how she said, "Okay, let's do what your lady is suggesting." And that's how it happened. So in the end, of course, my takeaway for this was that Swami gave me an opportunity, like he told me and reassured me that if you have good feelings in your heart, I will always support you. I will open up the doors for you. I will let you do what you want to do. And even then, if there are certain obstacles, then of course he then lands himself and he sends a direct message over there. But he gave me an opportunity to see those blessed faces, his guests, so happy with the prasadams, so happy to be there, that it would fill up my stomach every day just seeing them. And the entire experience left a very deep impression on me that I should never hesitate to think of doing good things in the society, because he is always there to support us. Sai Ram to all of you.